Hello, my friends. How are y'all doing out there? It's great to see you for yet another video, and I have something on my mind today, my friends. Something is troubling me, as basically we are watching this entire country be rolled back by at least 100 years through the efforts of one Donald Trump, and obviously that is a problem. So I'm going to discuss that today and sort of how America has fallen, and now we have a whole political party that is based on bootlicking billionaires and lining up to do what you're told and enabling fascism in America. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So for those of you that have been here for a while, and I know we had a recent influx of new subscribers based on that last video that did very well, and it's good to see you all. I hope you enjoy the journey that we are all about to embark on. But for those of you that have been here for a while, you have heard me say some absolutely crazy things in my time here on YouTube. And some of those things I have said is referring to MAGA as the dumbest, most spineless, most cowardly, and laziest political movement in possibly the history of the United States. This is just downright pathetic when you sit there and think about it. And the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, we basically rolled America back by 100 years where nobody is willing to stand up for themselves anymore, stand up against the millionaires and billionaires out there and say this isn't right, and we as your average everyday working class Americans deserve to have a fair shake at life. Just because we weren't born into money doesn't mean we don't deserve that. And we have to sit here and watch as working class Americans, just like you and me, people that make $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year, line up to lick the boots of billionaires in hopes that trickle-down economics is real. I don't really fucking know. But we're in a tough situation because the reason that I call MAGA a lazy political movement is this is a whole movement that decided, instead of getting out there and, I don't know, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which is, look, I understand the origins of the statement, but that is a thing that we've been told our entire lives that meant get out there and work harder for what you want. Not the original meaning, I get it, but that's the meaning that it eventually turned into, all right? It sucks I have to clarify that on the internet. But anyways, instead of doing that, they elected a person that tells them all the things they want to hear by creating a boogeyman for them and explaining that that boogeyman is the person that is ruining their entire life. So then we end up with terms like DEI hire. And when I hear somebody talk about DEI hire and they're talking about how it's affecting their lives and all that, all I see is a weak, pathetic person that's not willing to put in the work, so they're looking for someone else to blame for why their life isn't the way that they want it. This is a political movement that wants to use the levers of government to tilt the playing field in their favor by vilifying people that are different from them. And when you hear DEI hire, if you're smart enough to pay attention to what they're actually saying, they normally are looking at, let's say, a black woman. That's a perfect example. A college-educated black woman that has climbed her way up the ladder, whether that be in government or the private sector, and has earned herself a high-ranking position in whatever it is she's doing. You will, right behind them, you will see a MAGA dork blaming DEI hire for all of their success. Yeah, you see that over and over. Another common thing you see is maybe a well-spoken gay man that has done the same amount of work and has worked his way up. MAGA cannot handle that and blames it all on DEI hires. It's a cop-out. It's an excuse. It's coping for the fact that they weren't willing to put in the work that it takes to get into those positions. And that's really all it is. Meanwhile, while Donald Trump claims to hire the best people, we have DUI hire Pete Hegseth out there who it doesn't do a very good job, let's say, of protecting our national secrets. There's no hoops to jump through. There's no password. There's no firewalls. There's no nothing to prevent the information from getting out there. All you have to do is give Pete Hegseth a shot of whiskey and join his Signal chat, and you too can get all of America's secrets delivered straight to your phone, and he gets away with it over and over and over. All while he's cheering on turning the military on Americans in LA. Some of you might be asking why I'm not specifically covering that. Well, I am planning to cover that. I've got a veteran coming on to have that discussion with me, and that video will come out either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how late we finish up with it tonight. But the problem is, in America right now, is we've got billionaires that are doing things in their own self-interest and convincing millions of Americans that they are doing it for them by giving them a boogeyman to be mad at. And the most recent boogeyman right now is transgender. Oh yeah, they're freaking out about transgender. Have you ever tried to have a discussion with MAGA, a political debate, so to speak? You can't get, let's say if you do it on the internet, you can't get more than 3 comments into it before they start discussing other people's genitals. And they have that conversation like it's completely fucking normal, like it's a well-adjusted adult thing to do. We were discussing deficits and budgets and immigration policy and tariffs, and all of a sudden you're asking to see my balls and you think that's a completely normal fucking conversation to have? You need to get your fucking head checked. The MAGA movement not only is lazy, but it's a bunch of fucking perverts that cannot stop thinking about everyone else's genitals. It's absolutely fucking bizarre. But the reason I bring this all up, my friends, is because I am deeply troubled at the state of America right now. While MAGA is masquerading as some sort of masculine movement, all this false bravado and chest puffing and all this nonsense that goes into it, the fact of the matter is it's an entire movement of weak, scared people that are trying to project masculinity to cover up for their own insecurities. And I know that firsthand because I see it every day. My friends, for those of you that don't know, I know a lot of you do know, but I must bring it up in a lot of videos because I'm an outlier here. I am a truck driver by trade. That is what I do for a living. I spend my time all over America's highways, and let me tell you, the truckers, for the most part, fucking hate me. Do you know why they hate me? Because I got out of line. I had enough of a backbone to stand up for myself and say this is not fucking right. But more importantly than standing up for myself, I've said in videos before, I was dumb enough to bring children into this planet. And it is my duty, my friends, to stand up for them before the government continues to strip away their rights because they are the wrong gender, according to MAGA. And it's important to me to stand up against that and try to leave the world a better place for my children, against all odds, it seems like, at this fucking point, because sometimes, my friends, it feels like a fucking losing battle. The reason I bring that up, and the reason we had this long build-up to what is the actual point of the video, is to point out how fake every bit of it is. I hear about it every day, what's going to happen to me because I chose to get out of line and think my own thoughts. My friends, if we were to put up a Venn diagram on my empty wall behind me, one circle would be times MAGA has threatened to kick my ass, and the other circle would be times MAGA has kicked my ass, and those circles would not overlap even a little bit. It's all fake, it's all talk, it's all meant to intimidate you and to keep you in line. So the entire point of this video, my friends, is a very important one. Now that we've finally gotten to the point, the point is, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents did not die at the hands of millionaires standing up for their rights just so you could come along 2 generations later and lick the boots of the same people that tried to take advantage of your ancestors. And I would say that the MAGA movement should be ashamed of what they are doing to their family names and what they are doing to American history. But these people do not feel shame at all as they beg their dear leader to take you get the fucking point. I get myself worked up. I get myself worked up sometimes, and I forgot what the fuck I was saying about that. Jeez, I'm a wreck sometimes, aren't I? Anyways, I go back to, American history, the old days. Back when coal miners were dying because they dared to stand up to their millionaire overlord that was trying to treat them like slave labor, and they stood up for themselves. I'm from Colorado, so I'm taken back to the Ludlow Massacre, where a camp of striking, I believe it was coal miners, correct me if I'm wrong, decided they wanted to stand up for themselves, and contracted National Guard troops came in and fucking murdered them. These people stood up for the rights of the working class in America, and they paid with their lives by doing it. You go back to the civil rights movement, where black people stood up for themselves, said, I'm going to sit wherever the fuck I want to on this butt. on this bus. Martin Luther King stood up and said, I have a dream, where people are, this ain't verbatim, obviously, he's a much better public speaker than I am, but his goal was for people to be treated with sort of equality in America, for everybody to have a fair shake in what we referred to as the melting pot. And he paid with his life. And here the fuck we are now in America, where these people are just taking us back to where we used to be, and they are willingly doing it. They are getting absolutely no benefit out of it. As we see, rural Americans, farmers, are losing their farms every fucking day at the hand of Donald Trump. Like I said, I'm a truck driver. We are watching right now as truck drivers are losing their jobs because the ports are so disrupted with freight that they are being put out of work. That is a real thing that's happening. I watched last time as Donald Trump's administration absolutely destroyed the independent owner-operator truck driver with his failed policies having to do with managing COVID. And I know I catch a lot of flack about that. People act like I'm making the entire fucking thing up. And I gotta be honest, I'm tired of being gaslit on the fucking internet. But I was there, my friends, when Donald Trump denied that COVID existed, when he referred to the entire thing as a hoax, when he said we had 3 cases, it'll be down to 0, when he lied about science, when he denied science and said that doctors were wrong about what the virus was. I was there when Donald Trump, I better make sure I don't say this the wrong way because I get in trouble for this one too, when he didn't say inject bleach, my friends. He just openly pondered on a stage with cameras in front of him, wondering if we should inject disinfectant. Fucking pardon me for saying that Donald Trump suggested we inject bleach. Semantics, my friends. I watched as Donald Trump crashed an entire economy through his own ignorance, or he's evil and he did that shit on purpose. I don't fucking know. But here we are. And I understand America has a dark history, my friends. I understand that we have this country through very, very horrible ways and bad treatment of human beings. And that is a discussion for a whole other video. It's a tough subject, isn't it? But since then, it's hard to say that. Since then, sounds silly when you put it that way, doesn't it? Since then, though, there have been generations and generations of people that have stood up for themselves, fought against the millionaires and billionaires for us to have a better life. And we have such a huge portion of the population that is so incredibly fucking brainwashed that they are lining up to give away their own livelihood in the interest of these millionaires and billionaires. And the long and short of it is they are fucking up. And it is completely fucking pathetic that we are watching this happen in America. Did you guys see, just sort of as an aside, there was recently a Craigslist post that kind of went viral. I know, people still post on Craigslist. Yeah, if that doesn't set off some red flags in your brain, I don't know what does, because Craigslist used to be shady as fuck. It could only be worse now, the fact that somebody's still using it. But this Craigslist post was a fucking right-wing lunatic whining about how the left has all the good music, and he decided that he wants to make a band similar to Rage Against the Machine, but for right-wing music fans, I guess. What the fuck is this guy talking about? He is the machine. He's one of the people that are feeding the machine. And sure, the memes were fucking hilarious on the internet. You had all kinds of people rewriting the lyrics. You remember in one of Rage Against the Machine's song, he was shouting, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," to which somebody rewrote the lyrics for this right-wing fucking Rage Against the Machine band. They changed the lyrics to, "Yes, sir, I will do what you tell me." These are a bunch of bootlicking lunatics that are lining up to do this. And how dare, what machine are they raging against? Seriously. They are the machine. They're feeding the machine. They are the ones that are selling this country out to fascism, and I can't even begin to fucking comprehend why. Nothing good comes out of it for them. All they're doing is helping the administration with their fascist agenda by removing people that they consider to be undesirable. Well, let me tell you something, you broke bastard. At the end of this, if you keep letting them go down the line and picking off these undesirable groups, eventually your broke, unbathed ass is going to be the next undesirable group, and you are allowing this to happen. You are cheering for this to happen. And like I said earlier in the video, You should be ashamed of yourself, but MAGA doesn't feel shame. They are cheering this on as the military is turned on American citizens right now. And the entire point of this video is that it fucking breaks my heart, my friends. Being from the country, being raised in the country by people that I later found out in life absolutely lied to me about who they are based on who they vote for now. It's absolutely the most heartbreaking thing that I have to deal with in my life. I was raised by people that told me they were tough men that stand up for what's right and wrong in America. I was raised by people that told me you get out there and you work for what you want, and boy, you're gonna get your ass kicked by life way more times than you win, but you get out there and you keep on fucking going, only to find out that these people are the very same fucking people that are selling out themselves and selling out the entire country to this bullshit. My friends, I think about that every day. My entire upbringing was a fucking lie. I was lied to by potentially the laziest people in the fucking country that do not want to work for what they have and instead want to vilify other groups. And that pisses me off. That makes me not a happy camper, my friends. And I'm a little bit lost in my thoughts because I do sit here and I dwell on those things. I think about them. And I think about how they're not the tough men that they portray to be. That they are not who they said they were. And when you have to come to terms with that as an adult, it is something that fucks with your brain. It messes with you a lot. But to return it to the entire point of the video, we've got a political movement, my friends, that has sold out anybody that's different to them, whether that be a different race, a different sexuality, whether that be transgender, any number of things. And they cheer for the downfall of their fellow Americans. They cheer for the prosecution of their fellow Americans, whatever that may be. They are cheering for no due process in America as we are deporting people to El Salvador concentration camps. They're cheering for that. And it's the most disappointing fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. While they are doing this, and it just makes me think so much about all the generations of Americans that have fought for us to have rights in this country, and we're watching an entire political movement piss that away. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why. With all that said, this video is long enough. I've rambled on long enough, and I could go on for an hour on this topic, but I'm not going to. I'm going to get out of here. Love you guys. Bye now.